This is Life Body Business Impact with Fatima. Welcome friends, I am so grateful to have you here. I'm your host, Fatima Ingalls, fitness expert, best-selling author, lifestyle entrepreneur, founder of the Life Body Business Fit Systems and co-founder of the amazing Freedom Retreats. My mission is to positively impact 10 million lives, to inspire you to wake up and live from your bucket list of dreams instead of waking up one day with a bucket list of regrets. Get ready to be inspired with weekly episodes and interviews that disrupt your thinking and motivate you to build your best life, body, and business. To change one life is to change many, so come with me now and let's get started with yours. Welcome friends, in today's episode I'm chatting with Rob Yates, who is a sought after personal trainer. He's the head personal trainer at Westcare Health and Fitness and he's the director of Combat Balance. Rob joined the army at a young age of 17 years and has over 9 years experience in the military. He's also been in the fitness industry for over 15 years, having owned and operated successful fitness facilities, all the while struggling with drugs, partying, unhealthy relationships, and several mental health challenges. In this interview, Rob and I talk candidly about his life experiences. At a young age, tragedy struck Rob's life when he lost a child to SIDS. So we talk a little bit about that, how this impacted his choices. We talk about image and ego in the fitness industry and how he's now come full circle to be a man that practices yoga and has shed tears talking about his mental health challenges on video on social media. Now, Rob is a person who has a true passion for helping people and not just with exercise and nutrition as a personal trainer and coach, but also coaching people to be spiritually and mentally fit rather than just physically fit. Now, he says he feels he has so much more to offer clients, and I quote, of what not to do rather than what to do, because of his vast array and experiences in life. So, enough from me. Let's dive in and hear what Rob has to say. Rob, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today. Let's dive right in, and I would love you to share with our audience a little bit about yourself. So, who are you and how did you get to where you are today? Tell us a little bit about your journey to bring you to the place that you are today.
Well, how long do you have? I suppose I'm just a country boy. I grew up in Whyalla. I was there until I was about 17. I then shipped off and joined the army for about 9 years. I had a significant setback in life while I was in the army. I was actually serving overseas and had my son pass away of SIDS. So I can sit back now and reflect on the last 15 years of my life and from that period onwards, and see how I didn't deal with that as well as I possibly could, and went into different businesses and relationships with inevitably, at the end of the day, all failed. And I found myself in a spot about 3 years ago where I had to sit and, deal with some of the stuff that I hadn't dealt with, and obviously start delving into things and start healing and finding myself again. And now I'm sort of 3 years on, I'm, in a really, really good place from being in a really, really dark place for a lot of those years. And I suppose a lot of people have sat back and watched my journey to where I am today, and, they see the change. And it's really, really nice. Not only do I feel better in myself for making the change and dealing with the stuff that I needed to deal with and rediscover, who Rob Yates was after losing him for so many years. I just find that, in society, I'm getting a better response, and all these people just want to be a part of my life, and opportunities that I've been wanting to do and things that I want to invite into my life are starting to happen. So I suppose today we'll just delve into some of those things, and you can ask me as many questions as you like. And the idea of me today is to be as raw and as honest as real, in order to, explain to people what happened in my life, and hopefully they can look at bits and relate to some of it. And at the end of the day, I hope, some of the stuff we talk about today just helps a few people to get their life back on track.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you're so willing to be so open and honest and candid, and the conversations we've had have always been like that. And I really appreciate that. I'd like to take you back to the turning point for you. So you said there was about 15 years where you had some stuff that you had to deal with in life. Your son died of SIDS, and I'm so sorry to hear that. I can't imagine what that might have been like for you.
Thank you.
What was a turning point for you, Rob? What triggered the change a few years ago?
I think I just got to the point where I kept, trying to buy materialistic things, and, I tried to band-aid the feelings and hurt inside, by taking drugs and alcohol and, doing all the things. I had all these things going on, but what I wasn't doing is dealing with all the inner turmoil. It didn't matter what I brought and what I had and who I hung out with and who I partied with. At the end of the day, I went home and I was, fucking miserable. It didn't fix anything, you know what I mean? And you keep thinking by going out and having all these materialistic things and having fun with people and stuff, it's at the end of the day, it's just a band-aid for what's going on inside. Because I look at people with things now and I just completely discard it. The people that I respect now are people with inner peace, and they don't need all those things, you know what I mean? They're doing wonderful things in the world. And I suppose that just inspired me to change. I'm like, what's missing in my life? And I started breaking it all down and realized that I'd actually caused where I'd ended up, and you have to take, absolute ownership over that and realize that your actions, have led to where you are. But the important thing is that very moment I decided to change, it just changed. And I suppose I want to share with people to say, look, we've all been there. We've all had things and we've all done things that we're not proud of and been people that we didn't want to be in certain circumstances. But at the end of the day, you can make a fundamental decision to change, like straight away. And as soon as I made that decision to change, like the universe just started to shift for me and opportunities opened up and people came into my life. And, that's all I wanted to share is that you absolutely have the power to change whenever you want. Doesn't matter what situation that you found yourself in.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think we're very aligned in our thoughts and visions, and I've had similar experiences. My philosophy, as you know, is to change one life is to change many. But the one life you have to start with is absolutely your own. And you've been on such a huge journey yourself. I mean, when I first met you some years ago in the fitness industry in Adelaide, you were that guy who was into the drugs and the partying and the image. And what do you think people thought of you from the outside looking into your life? Do you think that they saw a picture of success? Was that what you were? Is that what you were trying to represent on the outside?
Do you know what? I didn't care what anyone thought, and that's the problem. Because I didn't care about myself, I also didn't care how other people treated me or how other people perceived me or whatever. I just did me with absolute arrogance and complete disrespect for people around me. And, looking back on that now, that's an embarrassing thing for me and something that I've apologized to many people close to me and just said, look, I wasn't the best version of me through there. But I suppose people that really knew me, there was a Rob that they seen glimpses of along the way that, is the person that does have a good heart and does, put other people first and, deep down is a nice person, but he's just not the right things, which make him or people perceive you, to be a dickhead. And that's okay. That had to stop. I used to hate that. I used to hate the things that got said about me. But at the end of the day, you had to, take it on board because some of those things that people said were true. What I like about my life now is that I live a life that it doesn't matter what people say or think about me because it isn't true, because they're talking about someone 3, 4, 5 years ago. They're not talking about the person that I am today, because the person that I am today, isn't that person. And the people that are important to me can see that, and that's all that matters to me.
Would you say that your competition is yourself these days?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. And the more work I do on myself and the more things that I do that actually align with my true purpose in life, I'm just becoming, you just get uplifted. And, I've changed my circle of friends. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I like to stress to people is normally you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around. And I definitely was. So changing that and changing my circle of friends and, basically upskilling yourself and being around people that taking drugs and partying and doing steroids for competitions and all the stuff they live life on a higher standard. That wouldn't be acceptable to them. And that makes you actually live your life on a higher standard, and those things become unacceptable in your life as well. And by doing that, by creating that circle where people are around you to support the best version of you, not support the worst version of you, you'll find that you'll just elevate in life. And not only will you feel better yourself, you'll have that awesome support around you. If people see that very best version of you and they just support that 100%, rather than support things that are actually, holding you back from being the very best version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I completely agree with you on that. You become what you surround yourself with. So it's so powerful who you decide to allow into your circle of influence, because it can influence you and affect your life in a good way or not such a good way. Yeah. Having both been personal trainers in our life and in our careers, I often saw that men and women who were working to change their lives physically and, as a side effect, I guess, mentally, were being affected by those around who didn't like the changes that they were making to their life. Has that been your experience as well?
Certainly. Yeah, most certainly. And I think I've always been a personal trainer. I've always been quite grounded back that I was already, kind of living part of my highest purpose in helping others, achieve, a better version of themselves. But I kind of felt at the end of the day, things that I was doing, I wasn't necessarily, you were talking the talk, but you weren't walking the walk. You were saying things to people that you weren't even doing yourself. And, at the end, now I don't live a life like that. I completely, walk and I live and breathe the things that I want to see in other people. And it's such a nice place to be. But, we've been in that job. We have that heart where we just love seeing people. I train people, they come in and they lack self-confidence and self-worth, and we work on that, and we talk about relationships and what they're doing in their careers, and you're just able to just, and then to watch the growth, like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, when they're walking around and you see all the things they're doing. Suddenly they've got vision boards up and they're goal setting and they're traveling around the world and they're in these new relationships and they're so much happier, and you're like, oh, wow. I got to influence that. There's a buzz about that will always keep me in this industry. But
absolutely. It's so fulfilling, isn't it?
Unbelievable. And along the way, those clients inevitably, without knowing it, also saved my life. You know what I mean? By always having, I didn't want to get up some mornings, but I got up and my inner voice was, there are people waiting for you. There are people that look up to you that need your help. So get the fuck up out of bed and go to work. I was able to do that even in my darkest spots where I just wanted to, you're having a 3-day bender on the weekend and then you're trying to get up on a Tuesday morning. And I was just, it's hard because you're not doing the right things to yourself. You're not treating yourself with love. But at the end of the day, I was able to sit down and have some insight into my own behavior and say, hey, you did this to yourself, but these other people there, they need you. So get up. And I think without realizing it, that actually saved me from getting any worse than where I was able to control that behavior.
Yeah, that is really powerful. I haven't, I've had a similar experience, not with being on benders, but just dealing with debilitating mental health and post-traumatic stress disorder, where the same, I would sometimes be wishing and hoping that a client would cancel, and I would pull myself together and just get out there and do it. And it was more like it was a gift from them to me, for me to have had the opportunity to go and serve them and train them. It just changed my headspace and it kept me going and stopping me from, and stopped me away from just getting deeper and deeper into that depression. So it's sort of
most certainly
similar.
I think listening to that, that's what just kept us steady, is because probably we were already aligned with our true purpose. We weren't being the truest, best version of ourselves, you know what I mean, at that particular time. There were just things that we're on the journey, we were looking for it, but we weren't quite there yet. And, I can sit back now and draw the dots back to all the things that I did wrong. And I just, the fortunate part when you're sitting where I am now is you can't, hindsight's a wonderful thing. There's so many things that I wish that I didn't do and people that I aligned with and things that I did that ended up in the situation that I'm in. But in another way, I'm also glad that I did it as well and can look back and think, well, I wouldn't have such knowledge and wisdom in all of those areas if that didn't happen to me either. So I like the person that I've become. You know what I mean? I actually love the person that I've become. And, you know, that's part of the journey, isn't it? Not to look back and reflect and feel guilt and shame about what you did. There's always going to be guilt and shame there, but unfortunately, you know, you can't go back and change it. You know, and I can't also sit here in a level of anxiety, worried about the future, because then I'm not living in the present. Helping with my clients and giving back on a daily basis and doing those things like getting up and treating myself with love and doing the right things, having a good sleep, getting up and training and exercising and yoga and meditation and all the things that I do. And then going and giving to others all day. At the end of the day, when you come home, there's that level of satisfaction that, you know, you're on the right path and you're being the very best version of you. And I've just found since I've done that, then all the rest of the opportunities just naturally just open up because people just want to be a part of what you're doing.
Yeah, because you're finding your purpose and passion in life, which is such a powerful thing to do. So would you say that I think I know the answer to this, but would you say you regret anything you have or haven't done in your life?
I think we all have regrets, but like I said, I just reflect back on them and just not in the best headspace. You know what I mean? I just look back and think, wow, you know, why did I do that? Why didn't I sit back and just wait? Why did I rush into this? Why did I decide to get into business as this person? Why did I decide to have a relationship with that person when you don't even align? And all these kind of things you're just looking at and you're able to analyze now. But I don't think there can be regret because at the time you didn't really have the skills to make a better decision for yourself. You know, and that's what I think life's all about. It's just having the right skills and the right people around you to be able to guide you. We all have a problem with, you know, owning up and saying, look, I'm fucking struggling. I don't know how to do this or whatever. But there's a funny thing about men is we don't ask and we struggle through it when really all we're lacking is just the skills. You know, our parents didn't teach us the skills. And up until that point in our life, we hadn't learned the skills to be able to deal, like in my case with my son's death. Like that happened when I was like 21 years old. What skills do you have in 21 to be able to deal with that? Not many. You know, if it happened to me now, you know, you would have a whole different set of skills that would enable me to be able to deal with that better and not do the things that I did to myself. So I suppose you regret it, but at the end of the day, I don't, you know, hate and blame myself and sit in shame about it. I kind of look at it like those are the lessons I needed to learn to be the person that I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you either win or you learn in life.
Yeah.
You know, I can honestly say I don't have regrets in life. Sure, things I might have thought I could have done that a little bit differently, but I look at the lessons and the opportunities that have come out of all of them and just gone,
yes.
not living a life of regret and guilt and shame. Shame, I believe there is also not guilty shame, useful shame, good shame.
Yeah.
When you're owning things like what you've described, when you're owning things that you have done, taking ownership of your behaviors and moving forward and learning from them. So I would love to go back to talking to you being an ambassador for the Happiness Co. I'm Man Enough because, you know, you were in the army, you've been in bodybuilding, you know, you're into fitness, you've got the tattoos, you look like a manly man, whatever a manly man is, right? Stereotypically. So talk to me about being man enough and talk to me about men's mental health and depression, all those sorts of things that you have dealt with, and you're an ambassador for the Happiness Co. now.
Happiness Co. was amazing for me. It actually got suggested to me by a girlfriend at the time that had just done the course, and obviously after she got to know me a little bit better, you know, had realized that the course would probably do me the world of good to kind of, you know, and I think when we talk about the skills that I've talked about before, that's the course that started me on that journey of self-discovery. It was a course that each day you had to, you know, get up, you know, drink your lemon water, meditate, do an emotional diary, talk about your day. And then each day we had homework to do that just broke down our life and just helped us understand where we had kind of conformed or where we had kind of gone wrong, and be able to trace it back and learn a little bit about how you ended up in that space. And then, Julian, who's an amazing mentor of mine, he starts to input some of the skills that you need in order to make some significant changes in your life and learn from those mistakes, or learn from, or learn how to get yourself out of the position that you're in, whether that be depression, anxiety, whether it be, sitting on the verge of suicide and stuff like that. And I suppose I'd always helped people, but I didn't really realize until we'd gone through some statistics and figures on that course that, there's 8 suicides a day and 7 of them are men. And I was like, wow, there's something fundamentally wrong that men aren't able to do in society that women are. And, for me, I like finding out things. I like digging into things and going, well, why? You know what I mean? And I think just my generation, especially, and my father's generation, we weren't allowed to be emotional. We weren't allowed to speak about our emotions. And you mentioned before about people looking at me and being this blokey bloke, and would have felt strange a few years ago talking to people about love languages and whether their values, morals, and ethics are being upheld within a relationship, and all these things and all these skills that I've learned along the way. It would have been, really weird when I was running around with ego and materialistic driven, attitudes. It would have been hard for me to be able to just be a bit vulnerable around those conversations. But I found the course just allowed me to sit in a group that I could share all the things that were happening and be raw and real, and not have it used against me like it had been before, in relationships and in business relationships and stuff. And, people find out things about you, and, they like to use it against you to be able to manipulate you and leverage their own position, which I found really weird in life. But in this situation, it was the first place where it was like an online AA meeting almost. It was like I was in this environment where everyone was so open and to listening to my story and being able to give me advice and praise on being, open, raw and real. And I suppose for the Happiness Co, because I do have a significant story to tell, it was not long after that, they'd seen the results of what the course had done for me, and they asked me to be an ambassador for their, I'm Man Enough kind of campaign, which is going to be launched this year.
I remember seeing a video that you shared on social media where you were emotional. You were crying in the video, and it was a very different Rob to what I had seen presented when I'd first met you. So I think that will have been hugely impactful. You mentioned 8 suicides a day and 7 of them being men. That is just huge. People just stop and think about that for a second. Whether you're female or a male, it's humans. It's a human life. And as a mum of 3 boys, I love humans. I love people. But as a mum of 3 boys, having had a husband who committed suicide and a father who also committed suicide, it's huge, and it's something I'm so concerned about in life, and particularly men being able to speak about their emotions and how they're feeling, because like you mentioned, something that women are doing that men aren't. Women speak to each other a lot more. It's considered to be normal to have these discussions, whereas with men, for too long it's been that you have to show a tough exterior and pretend that you've got it all together.
It was it's funny, Julian, one of the first things he says in his courses is if you think someone's got their shit together, they're lying. Nobody has their shit together. And it was just nice to hear that and just breathe and just think, I just don't, it's okay that I don't have my shit together, It's actually all right, because there's, like you said, there's this pressure, on men that they've got to be all these hats, all these things. You're a dad, you're a son, you're an uncle, you're a business owner, you're a mentor, you're a partner in a relationship, you're all these things. And, there's so many different hats to wear, and it's no different for women. I understand that. I'm not sort of saying that's only an issue for men, but I think you hit the nail on the head in saying that men think they have to have this macho image, that we've got all of our shit together, when, to be truthful, the figures don't show that, because, 7 out of every 8 people that commit suicide on a daily basis are men. So we don't have our shit together. And there's something that we're missing and we're not talking about that I want to help and I'm passionate about now, and realized how important that space was for me, because that was the fundamental change, in becoming who I am today, is having that environment where I could be raw and real and honest about some of the things that I'd done and the things that have ended up in the shitty space that I was. But the great thing was, because I was able to talk about it, and cry and let it all out and, write about it and have mentoring around it and learn some new skills about how to deal with that better. That's how I got out the other side. And I'm like, I think as a personal trainer, you would do the same, Fatima. You go to this course or you learn this thing, and, all that week I'm going back to my clients, oh, look at this, you've got to read this book. It's fucking amazing. Because we learn things, and all we want to do is just passionately go and just, shout it out to the world and just show all these people these amazing new things that we've just learned or we've just read about. And I've always been like that. I'm like, you've got to read this book because it had such an impact on me. And obviously that's where I am now. I think I built up my body because I had self-esteem issues and self-worth issues, and I was in a shit space. And, I started taking steroids and building up my body, and it kind of looked better on the outside, and people started to be a bit fearful of me and leave me alone. And that was good because, I didn't want anyone fucking coming near me because I wasn't feeling great about myself. And you get all the tattoos and stuff, and people are even less likely to come near you. And I'm like, oh, this is fucking great. I've just built up this massive big wall that no one can come near because I'm actually fucking dying inside. But nobody's ever asked me. No one's ever taken the time to just ask me, Rob, are you actually okay?
Yeah,
because people on the outside would have looked at my life and thought, fuck, he's a gym owner, he's competing, he's doing this, he looks great, he's driving a Mercedes, he's doing all these things. And people would look at that life and just go, oh my God, he's fucking killing it. But you know what? I've never been more miserable in my life, but no one ever asked me. You know what I mean? No one ever took the time to find out whether I was okay. I didn't have that circle of friends around me. I had people around me that just wanted to take advantage of everything that I had. And that's what had to change. That fundamentally had to change. And during that course, the reason why I said yes to being an ambassador is that allowed that space for me to be honest and real about that stuff, but give me the skills I needed to be where I am today. It started that journey, and that's what I want to do for other people. That's why now I've started working with veterans, and I'm finding that challenging because they're a challenging group of gentlemen to work with, and women as well. We're obviously changing the face of, what a veteran is now. You're not looking at, an older gentleman that's fought in Vietnam. You're actually looking at quite young people that have gone to Afghanistan and Timor, and including women now in veterans. So the face of a veteran is changing. And I think with the Invictus Games and stuff like that, and the focus on men's mental health at the moment, it's a really, really good industry for me to be working in. And I can take my skills as a PT and, take my life skills into there and probably, impact on more lives than what I can just being a PT in a gym like I was before. So it's a nice space to be in.
Yeah, it's really powerful what you're doing and your life experiences, how you are using them to help other people and just really open up the conversation around men's health. So yep. Amazing work that you're doing there.
Thank you.
What do you think of the statement? It is not selfish to put yourself first. It is selfless.
I don't think you can give to other people 100%. Unless you've obviously given to yourself. And I find I'm much more able to give to people being the better version of me than what I ever was before. Like I said, turning up to work after a 3-day bender is not exactly the best version of you. So do you really think that you were able to give to people, when you weren't even giving to yourself? People see selfish as, a bad thing. I don't. I'm selfish now. And even in my new relationship, my new partner is selfish too, but in a good way. She'll be like, you know what, I actually need to, go and do a yoga practice. And I'm like, that's fine, because that's something she needs to do to ground herself and to be able to be the very best version of herself, not only for me in a relationship, but for her children as well. And I don't see it as selfish. I'm just like, yep, I know the feeling. I love getting out on my bike for 2 hours in the morning, and I'll schedule that in. I'll have clients go, can you train me tomorrow morning? And I'll be like, nah. It's riding morning. That could be deemed as selfish, but I can't give to those people unless I firstly give to myself. And I've had to learn that the hard way. You can't, I call it like a cookie jar. We give out cookies all day So all these different situations and different personalities and different challenges people are going through. And, you know, we're a lot more than a personal trainer when you've been in the industry 14, 15 years like we have. You're more of a life coach, and that's why you're sought out by people to be able to train with as well. I say I give out cookies all day, and you know what? Sometimes my fucking cookie jar's out, and I need some people to give it back to me, or I need to give it back to myself before I can start dishing out cookies again.
Absolutely.
And that's just the way I look at my life. So I think that there isn't such thing as selfish. There is if you're doing it in a way in which you're just ripping people off and not giving back to the community, you know, but I definitely don't hang around people that do that, or, you know, don't live that kind of lifestyle myself.
Yes, I think it's a really powerful message for men and women. My own experience as a widowed mum was that I was struggling to look after my kids and work and juggle everything that was going on in life. And I learned that I had to take care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally. And that started with getting a gym membership, where I was so concerned about even using the money on a gym membership and taking the time away from my kids, until I started to realize that when I exercised for an hour, you know, just lose it at my kids as much if I was exercising and giving to myself. So it took about a year to stop feeling guilty, because I find a lot of people feel guilty when they are doing things that can be deemed by society as being selfish, i.e. giving back to yourself, doing something for you, going out for your bike ride, or going and doing your yoga practice, or going out for a walk, or time with, you know, friends, without any other responsibilities around the house and business. So
it's so very important. Like, and I think, you know, we look at society problems, you know, these days, and we're all just running around, you know, frantic, like, and that's why we're just rush, stress. You know what I mean? There isn't any grounding there. There isn't any like time to just sit and breathe. You know what I mean? And you're gonna create, if you're gonna create some kind of balanced lifestyle, it needs to be exactly that. You know, the time that you're spending stressed out, there also has to be an equal amount of time that you spend not stressed out. Otherwise, you know, it's going to impact your life and impact everyone around you. So I find now I just hang around people that, you know, would not only suggest that to you, they, you know, when you need time for yourself, they respect that time and give you that time, rather than, you know, sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you don't want to go to work, and I'll move a couple of clients. I've got clients around me now that understand that I don't always have good days, and I'm not the type of person to go into work when I'm having a really bad day, because I think I'm the type of person that can walk into a room and be able to change everyone's emotions in there. If I go in there with a really, really negative attitude and I just hate the world that day, I'm not the best version of myself, and I'm definitely not the right person to plonk in the middle of a gym and walk around and not speak to anyone and stuff like that. I know that I need to be selfish and take some time out for myself, and I might just move those people to the afternoon. You know, go back to sleep if you need some more sleep, you know, like catch up on some bills, or go out into the shops and get some food and make yourself some nice food because you haven't had time to prepare that for yourself, and then move the clients, you know, later on the afternoon or the next day or something. And I do understand that not everyone has that flexibility, but I've worked really hard to create that lifestyle for myself as well, and being able to do that.
yeah, that's absolutely key. You mentioned earlier when you go on courses and read books and listen to different audios, that you come back to your clients and you just want to share it. What is one book that if you could only pick one book, and I know this is probably going to be difficult for you, one book that you would recommend everyone picks up and reads? It's just like one of the most impactful books to you.
Probably the 5 love languages.
Okay. And why would that be?
Probably because I've had a couple of failed relationships. I needed to understand why. And there was a lot of guilt and shame of, you know, wondering why, you know, you hadn't been the very best version of yourself with that person, or you hadn't gotten back out of the relationship what you'd hoped to. And by reading that book, I just see a lot of people. I obviously train people late 30s, 40s, 50s, and not all of their relationships are fulfilling, but they stay in them. You know what I mean? And I'm not the type of person to do that. So I understood why and what I needed, you know, out of a relationship, starting with me. So I needed to obviously, you know, find myself again and be doing the things and living the kind of lifestyle that's the very best version of me. But I also needed to understand what I needed from a relationship before I could go out there and start dating and stuff again. And then when you're sitting with people and talking and spending time with people, you realize whether they actually align with those morals, values, and ethics that you hold close to your heart. And I suppose that's why I'm in a successful relationship now. Eventually, after 3 years of being on my own and doing the work, is that I was able to just identify the things that I needed from a relationship and the things I needed for me, and identify when someone came into my radar, whether they were going to be the actual person to be able to satisfy all of those needs or, be a similar love language to me. It was an impactful book for lots of different reasons, not only just for that, it's just some of the other learnings and teachings in that book are amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like you've learnt a lot about yourself with that book.
Yes, and just realised where you had gone wrong. And it's not because you weren't in relationships with good people. That's not what I'm saying. They just had different values, morals, and ethics to you, and they also showed you love and wanted to be loved in a way which you didn't understand. So you didn't feel loved in the relationship, and neither did they.
Sometimes it's really like trying to put a square into a circle, when your values and your morals aren't aligned. I mean, relationships take compromise, but if your core values and belief systems are not aligned, then it's not going to work. It never will work when those core things aren't in line. And that's something I've obviously learnt along my own journey as well. As I'm sure so many people are listening.
So many people have.
Yeah, have experienced the same thing.
And I think, unfortunately, we get in relationships, serious ones too young, and we don't have the skills. We don't even understand ourselves yet. You know what I mean? I read this article the other day that they were suggesting that we renew our vows with someone you're married with every 7 years. And I was like, how do I feel about that? And I'm like, you know what? That makes fucking sense. The person that I was 18 wasn't the person that I was when I was 25. And the person that I was when I was 25 isn't the same person that I was when I was 32. And the person that I was at 32 isn't the same person I am today at 40. Along the way, there's this journey. And like you said, if the values, morals, and ethics and belief systems and, goals that you want from life and everything don't align with a partner, it's going to go to shit. And it's very, very hard to sustain because one person is always going to feel like they're giving more than the other and they're not getting all of their needs met. And some of their values, morals, and ethics are being compromised on a daily basis by another person. And it's not because the other person is a nasty person. I want people to understand that. It's just because the person, doesn't align with your things. You know what I mean? So they're always going to upset you or, do things where you feel like you weren't loved or your needs weren't met. You know what I mean? It's going to be a constant battle. But I think reading that book, like mine is, quality time, and other people I've been in relationships, for example, things have been like gift giving. So they would give you a gift showing you that they love you, but you didn't give a fuck about the gift. You just wanted them to spend an hour with you and go for a walk and have a coffee. So you actually felt like, this is a gift that means nothing to me. I would have rather you spent the afternoon with me and we could have went and done something together. So you see how that just doesn't align? So the other person is trying to show you love and they do love you and you love them as well, but not in the way that you need to be loved to have a really deep connection. It's more of a, it's more of a, what do they say? I don't know.
It's about, I guess, learning more about yourself. Communication is huge. And the more you learn about yourself and discover about yourself, the better you're able to recognize things in other people and give back in the way that they need to be given to. Because what I learned, I guess, in reading that book some years ago myself was that we tend to, you said your love language was quality time. We tend to give that to our partner, not really taking the time to work out if that is their love language. Like you said, theirs might be gift giving. To feel love, they need to be given gifts. And for you to feel love, you need quality time with a person. And we tend to give what we would like to receive back. And there we have a breakdown in communication. So
I read an article not long ago that was actually really cool. And it's a podcast as well. It's called The Wild Woman and the Wild Man. And it's what they said in there is that every 30 days you should check in with your partner, because every 30 days is like a whole cycle of life changes. So with my new partner, we'll go out to dinner or we'll just something and just say, look, how are you? What's changed in the last month or so since we've actually sat down and spoke? Are you doing all the things? Am I doing all the things that you need from me? And my needs being met? Are your needs being met? Are the kids' needs being met? Are we on track, financially? Are we on track, to do this, and this? Have we neglected friends? And it's such an amazing place to be. And you hit the nail on the head before, and it's just communication. It's so very important. You need to be at a maturity level to be in a relationship, to be able to sit with someone and have, that kind of conversation. I love what Julian says, my mentor. He's amazing. He's just like, well, you ask the hard questions, have an easy life. Ask the easy questions, have a hard life. And it's so true. If you just keep things inside and you bottle them up and you don't express your needs and don't let people know when they cross your morals, ethics, and values, and you don't actually know what those things are, and you wonder why you're constantly upset all the time, it's because of those things. You're frustrated that these things happening, but you're not understanding why.
Yeah, I really like what you just said, that what Julian, your mentor, says regarding asking the questions. I think that is really, really powerful, and it's a good thing to for people to ask themselves, really.
Ask yourself the hard questions. Like that's something that you have to do. It's like, am I actually being the very best version of myself in this relationship? No.
It's all about taking responsibility as well, responsibility for where you're at in life and what you'd like to do differently in life. I mean, questions are the answers, but too often we go to work and we go through the motions of the day, 9 to 5, doing what we think we're supposed to be doing and not really asking ourselves what we want in life. What's our purpose? What's our passion? So many people will do this and then wake up one day with a bucket list of regrets instead of having a bucket list of amazing things that they want to do and experience in life. So it's been amazing to interview you and have a chat here with you, Rob. Are there any parting thoughts or a parting message that you would like to leave with our audience?
No, I think thank you very much for asking me to do this. I just I'm really, really proud of myself of what I've been able to achieve over the last couple of years, and, sit back and recognize, that I wasn't the very best version of myself. And for people out there listening to this that might have, met the person that you met, Fatima, you know what I mean? I'm sorry for being that person, but I hope they understand that, it was the death of my son and not dealing with all of those things that, ended up with you not managing that well and not having the skills and ending up where you ended up. But the most powerful message is that if people, and we all have our own shit, if they haven't dealt with that properly, if they're in a situation where they're not happy and they're not being fulfilled, and, you only get one life. And I just want to say, I just woke up one morning and I made a fundamental decision to make a change that very day. And from that very day, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. I went through, when you break up relationships and get out of business relationships, I lost a house, a marriage, a gym. I lost all of those things, but they were all absolutely necessary for me to lose to be able to close that chapter on my life and start again. So most people would sit in fear and go, oh, fuck, what are people going to say? Or, oh, shit, I'm going to lose my house and my relationship. I can't do that. I can't do this on my own. But you can. It's hard, but I'm sitting here right today as a shining example of what it is when you take back your power and you make that fundamental decision for yourself, and you do the work. Don't be afraid of what people will say or in fear of whether you think you're going to fail or not, because you know what, your happiness and your life, you only get one. So make that decision today and don't be scared, because you'll get the support that you need along the way, even though it seems like it's going to get a little bit harder before it gets easier, which is the same as, anything worth achieving in life. It doesn't come easy.
No, it doesn't. You've done amazingly well, Rob. As one of my business coaches says, you only have one life, but you have the opportunity to live your life every single day. That's JT Fox. One life,
Yep.
the opportunity to live it every day. So just because stuff has happened, all the things that you've mentioned, I'm sure people will relate to that.
Yep.
You lose your job, you lose your business, you lose a relationship, there's a death in the family, you struggle with mental health issues or eating disorders or anything like that. Just because that happens, it doesn't mean your life has to end and you have to go on in life just surviving. Life is for the living, not for the being. So absolutely go out there and live it. If people would like to connect with you, Rob, where's the best place for them to be able to find you? And I'll pop links down in the show notes, but if you could tell.
Yeah, cool. I pretty much live most of my life on social media, so probably Facebook or Instagram is the best. Instagram is Combat Balance, which is my new business coming out of body design. Combat Balance is good. I'm drawing from my military experience and also trying to provide people with balance in life that I've actually found it for my own. So that's the reason behind the name. And obviously just Rob Yates on Facebook. And I'm more than happy to be able to start, coaching people with this kind of stuff. I'm doing it already with my clients. I started working with veterans and they made me the ambassador of the Road to Recovery, which is a respite place in Robe. And I'm really passionate about going back now and taking some of these learnings and teachings and my PT background and help veterans. That will be a big thing for me, working in men's mental health and being able to give back. So either of those two spots, if you need the assistance or if you want to know the places to start, if you want to know who to speak to at the Happiness Co and things that have really helped me out, then I'm more than happy to share that on social media.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Fatima.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I truly hope you have found it beneficial and have taken some value from it. Hopefully, a lot. If you did, please share this show with anyone you feel may need to hear it. I would also absolutely love if you would take a minute or two to review this show on iTunes, Stitcher, or whichever platform you happen to be listening to it on. With your help, we can accomplish my mission to positively impact 10 million lives. That would be so awesome. Now, if you want to connect with me or my guests on other platforms, or if you want to send me an email with questions or ideas of guests to interview, please check out the show notes. I am so incredibly grateful to have had your time today, and I can't wait to have you on the next episode. Have a great day.